When it comes to Persona 4 discourse, as it's my years-long autistic hyperfixation, the topic of a remake or remaster worries me because what fans want, what I want, and what Atlus wants are three very different things. So today I'm gonna give a few reasons as to why the Japanese Scooby-Doo's remake intimidates me. Also, this video is in part a response video to Minty's really cool video about the same topic. Please check out their video as I won't be representing their opinions fully, however it was a heavy inspiration for me to make this video today. Firstly, I'd like to quickly summarize my thoughts on the recent Persona 3 remake, as it stands to reason that this is what a P4 remake may bring to the table. Firstly, I'm going to start with the biggest issue in my opinion, which is Persona 5-isms. Firstly, a phone system that teleports you around the already small world to accept social links. This to me is a bad idea, as P5 Shibuya was big, however Tatsumi Port Island and Inaba are a lot smaller in comparison. Social link bonuses. In my opinion, these ruin combat and make the game far too easy. It was a problem in Persona 5, it was a problem in Royal, and it was an issue in Reload. And finally, for Persona 5-isms is dungeon crawling. It becomes boring as dungeons that are pre-planned, well-designed areas become boring on second playthroughs. They couldn't do this to Tartarus in Reload, but Escapade's website bonus bullshit made Tartarus far too easy in Reload. The Escapade website bullshit makes player advantages way too easy to obtain after a certain point. Baton passing, now renamed to shifting, makes all-out attacks far too easy to accomplish, which ends up being in a total annihilation of difficulty, even on Merciless. But all this crap about midload, you've heard it all before, and if not, welcome to the Accursed Jesse YouTube channel, where recency bias doesn't exist because I'm so depressed I have to drink enough caffeine to give a hyena a heart attack to sound this monotone. So, Persona 4 Rewind, the Persona 4 remake. Persona 4 Golden is beyond my favorite title within the Persona franchise, to where I can't put them on the same caliber of game to the other ones as I love this cast of characters. Voice actors, we'll get back to you in a minute, you little shit. The games, the anime, the manga, the figures, the Special Edition 3DS, I love it all. But it's no secret that in order to begin a discussion on Persona 4, we need to see what Atlus thinks is a good job of a remake, and that would be Persona 3 Reload. That's why I brought it up at the start, and now I'm gonna blow your fucking mind. And so Reload changed a lot about the image and direction of the way that Persona 3's story was told, and for me, that couldn't be more evident by the choice to replace all voice actors. It's no secret that some of the original cast from the late 2000s since have been up to some strange shit, and so yeah, replacing some of them was a good idea. I don't know if I can count on one hand the amount of times Fuka's voice actor has been replaced between P3, Arena, and the Q games. And so why is this important? Well, shit. Look at what you did. You've only gone and promoted NFTs. Oh, Nanako, you done fucked up big time. No big bro this, that's your college fund gone now, young lady. Yukiko, what the fuck are you doing? Yeah, NFTs are bad, but why are you smoking weed on social media? God damn it. And, oh, for fuck's sake. Yosuke, you're Spider-Man now? Well, I guess Atlus is owned by Sega, so they'll have the money to redo your lines. They don't want to reuse what they already have. Rise, you know, good for you for being Lucina in Fire Emblem and the boss in Saints Row. You know, fun fact, Yuri Lowenthal, Yosuke, and Laura Bailey Rise are both heavily used voice actors in Fallout New Vegas. If you play as the female protagonist, you play as her. So my new headcanon is that Rise grows up to be the courier. This whole rant is to show that the chances of the Persona 4 cast not coming back is higher than Yukiko. So something interesting to point out is that some of the original voice cast did come back for cameos within Midload, so that's cool. Same goes for a few members of the P5 cast. Very cool, Atlus. However, a whole new cast of voice actors is something I don't think I could handle unless they did the opposite of Reload, which was getting new actors to do a take on the characters and get people who can match the voices and direction of the older cast. This is because I know that characters such as Chie and Teddy can come off as very different characters depending on the actor. Originally, Chie wasn't voiced by Erin Fitzgerald within the original PS2 version of P4. And although her dialogue in the game was the same, the direction made her more of a tsundere shy type who occasionally got loud rather than Erin's direction, which was to make her always high energy and loud, which is my most loved interpretation of the character. Look, I don't own multiple figures and plushies and her jacket if it wasn't for the amazing actress behind the character. I bet you're thinking to yourself, wow, this is a deal breaker for you, Jesse, what's wrong with you? And I say, Persona is 60% visual novel and 40% gameplay. If it wasn't for the story, I would care significantly less about these games. And no, it's not the 2 ranks of dating and Valentine's event, you weirdos. That's like less than 10 minutes of content. If the voice acting is subpar, the enjoyment scale is bedrock levels of low. I highly doubt this game will have the budget to get good boy voice actors back, and with the standards of new recordings would be required, so blah, new voice cast is stinky, but it's whatever. Homophobia and social links. I made a video about the projected homophobia of Yosuke and the misreadings of characters like Kanji and Naoto. If they do change those characters to be gay or to be trans, that changes a lot of stuff going forward, meaning Arena and Dancing would need remakes to fix the retcons. Which, I mean, remakes of Dancing and Arena would be cool, but to make Kanji colorful or to make my queen to continue to bind, I'm not sure about that one. But that does make me worry, as some lines may end up being altered for a modern audience. And social links and such would be changed. A potential positive change would be including the Persona 4 manga and anime adaptations of characters, make Aya a character the protagonist interacts with rather than just a background NPC. Make Naoki's social links start within the campout. I feel like at least then, on a replay, there's more to it than just being a happy-go-lucky anime filler episode. Perhaps even have characters talk about social links to the protag and have them experience the link alongside the protag. For example, within the Persona 4 manga, Naoki's social link is done with Yosuke, someone who cared for his sister like a fuck ton. And so having there being an emotional attachment to the person they both lost could open up to the social link being rewritten to add more, or to make it more interesting and gripping to add more stakes on catching the killer. And so while in some ways the remake could assassinate some characters by changing their core message of don't judge books by their covers, and the information isn't always as what it seems at the surface, for example, like Naoto's gender or Kanji as a person, or like, you know what the investigation team does in order to catch the killer, they had to look beyond the surface level and dig a bit deeper. Some Persona fans are happy that their most loved characters can be boiled down to their key representations, like Akihiko Protein, Chie Meat, Yukiko Dumb, Yosuke Comic Relief, Naoto Smart, like, no. Come on guys, they're more in-depth than that. Persona 4 is a period piece. Retconning and changing art for a more modern audience couldn't be more intimidating than with a Persona 4 remake. The game, although made in 2009, was made to be set in the year 2011. To set the scene a little, I know some of you aren't even older than the Nintendo 3DS, so social standards and expectations around the world are: gay marriage is not legal, people had CRT TVs, which are those really old TVs that make that high-pitched noise in your ears and hurt your eyes a little bit, and are a bitch to film on camera. The internet is still in its infancy, the iPhone 4S just came out and Party Rock Anthem just dropped, and Obama is the president. Okay, so I hope you have an image in your head of what kind of society we are in. People call each other homophobic slurs or just gay for not falling victim to peer pressure, and so now imagine those people having in-depth discussions on transgender people or gay people in a positive way. Like, yeah right, that'd happen. So Naoto, the sexism that made her cross-dress, I'd argue that's even still a problem in society today. But rather than being called a slur, people advocate for you to be trans or non-binary when really, even some women today dress androgynously to avoid sexism against men, and so although women being oppressed is a tale older than time, Naoto still gets a label slapped on her head in current day because of our current interpretations of queer characters. To summarize, they should not change Yosuke's projection of his own insecurities of his own sexuality onto Kanji, as if anything they should restore his romance route as the lines were recorded, voice acted, and written. Do it, you cowards, it fleshes him out as a character, and do not make Kanji gay, that is not the point of his character, and for the love of God, don't make the funny ace detective trans. Atmosphere. I won't lie, I'm a massive P4 fan, and Golden's where I've sank 5 or 6 playthroughs of the game on Vita, PC, Steam Deck, and Switch, but there's something to be said about the atmosphere of the original version of Persona 4, and that's the fog. Not like Minecraft render distance fog. Oh shit, is that fucking Herobrine? But the atmosphere and graphics on the original Persona 4 for a PS2 game, god fucking damn, the shit looks so fucking good. Naoto's dungeon stands out to me in particular as, say it with me guys, it looks like Persona 6. Honestly, if Persona 6's color scheme isn't green and I could have said it looks like Reload and the joke would have had longer staying power, then that'd fucking suck. The renderware engine is what made this possible until EA bought it, meaning that devs would have to pay to use this really cool engine almost everyone knew how to use, meaning that a fuck ton of PS2 games had to be remade from the ground up, and if this is how you learn why PS2 remakes and emulation is weird with alpha textures, you're welcome, now be mad at EA EA for not making good games and are trying to monopolize good-looking and running games. Ramble aside, Persona 4 PS2 is slower. Like, Narukami literally walks slower, and playing this game on a PS2 in the PAL region, I get that lovely below 30 FPS, but the world around me looks so good, I don't mind walking around through school or looking through the windows. To put it simply, I have Let's Player autism, where the small details outside of windows and the unplayable regions of the games where devs put in the effort to put something out there, it makes a huge smile on my face. The whole atmosphere is that Inaba is a small, kind of run down by a big business town that doesn't have much to do. The prologue of the game, which I've had an ex tell me is a scam to prevent you from refunding the game on Steam, a detail I find especially funny since it builds the world around you so well to the point of where once you get the free will to explore the dungeon, do social links, and have an actual drive to do so, the graphics and the world that was built is interesting and beautiful, and you have the motivation to solve the case. Atmosphere is so important to Persona 4. Some of it was lost in Golden. I'd argue it builds back some of it with some voice cast changes and bonus content like the beach filler episode, visit to Tatsumi Port Island, etc, etc. Atmosphere in Persona 4 matters. And a remake can either make or break that. Reload ruined the atmosphere with lighting and details in certain places like boss fights in the dorms. I hope that the Dojima residence continues to look dumpy because it's a part of the charm and it's not this well-lit, clean place. Gameplay and dungeons. All that rambling and I still haven't begun on the actual gameplay part of the game. Just goes to show that Persona is an experience, not just a game. No, hey, no, that does not mean you can watch a review or a let's play. You play the fucking games, it's on Game Pass, it's on Squitch. Yeah, the game's on fucking Nintendo Squitch. Play the fucking games, it's on Game Pass and Switch, you have no excuse now. Okay, so, gameplay. Something I noticed when going back to, funnily enough, play Persona 3 Portable is the mechanics from Persona 4 that it took and adapted into the game, and for P3's combat system to change to be similar to Persona 4. There was a lot of different things they needed to do about the ways that shadows interact with the player within combat to adjust for party member control, and alongside many features, one was co-op attacks. Basically, after hitting a 1 more as the protagonist, a party member would be like, hey, let's do this, and we'll offer a knockdown to an enemy. This would go on to evolve into cavalry and synergy attacks, which either called on a non-party member to knock down an enemy or do a little more damage depending on who you have in the party after an all-out attack. But then this would go on to evolve into showtime attacks, and then the final result is theurgies, which break the game. And if you ask me, the co-op attack isn't always useful. Let's say you're in a new block of Tartarus and you're experimenting on new shadows, and you hit a 1 more on a 4 enemy formation. Do you take the co-op attack guaranteeing 1 enemy is critted and knocked down, or do you cancel and use a multi-hit SP attack? It's situational thinking like that which rewards players who pay attention to what they're doing and doesn't absently-mindedly say yes to co-op, not realizing that they can't hit the weakness with any other party member. But what does this have to do with a Persona 4 remake? Well, let's imagine all remakes are now made in the image of Persona 5, as P3P was made in the image of Persona 4. Say goodbye to difficulty, goodbye to the fun, yet broken shuffle time mechanics, and say hello to baton pass system and, I don't know, a ratings gauge. I think that's how they'd introduce some ultra powerful move based on their performance in battle, like the higher TV ratings, and once the gauge maxes out, Chie goes on a galactic punting spree. Imagine galactic punt, but it's Chun-Li's kick from Street Fighter, or some stupid shit like that. If you want a remake that's in the image of Persona 5 where each dungeon is the same pre-laid out puzzles, I don't know why people like puzzles in JRPGs. I get that P5's kind of stealth game with the meter and such, so solving puzzles to get the treasure without the target becoming too paranoid or whatever, it makes sense within the context, but P4, I don't think so. For me, I love doing dungeons in one day. I love trying to beat the snot out of enemies whilst also conserving SP and heals for the boss to try get away with doing it in a day, with good preparations and a well-built strategy in mind. Other people would just leave and fight the boss fully restored or by going to the Fox. Now, in my eyes, that makes you risk-averse, or in other words, a pussy. Skill issue plus L plus ratio. Joking. People can play these games however they want. However, for me, personally, Tartarus and dungeons in P4 bring the same level of enjoyment of fighting to the top. The occasional puzzles like backtracking or being discombobulated or the lights being turned off invites more chances for combat. Persona 5's puzzles don't change, so on a second or a third playthrough, it's like, damn, this was fun, but like, a little bit of variety would be nice. Simply put, exploration in dungeons in Persona 4 is like a pizza, but with each different shadow you fight has different toppings. Sometimes it's good, sometimes it makes you want to fornicate with a chainsaw. Persona 5 is like a cheeseburger. Now, don't get me wrong, a good cheeseburger is a good cheeseburger, but it's the same flavors and same texture every time. I love how combat-focused Persona 4 is. It's a fight to the top, while Persona 5 is barely a fight, and it wants you to do stealth through the same palaces every playthrough. How many times do I have to do the Sayori paintings thing in Madarame's palace for it to no longer be fun? Because I know the solutions once, and after one time of doing it, the puzzle is null and void. Now, Persona 4, having to backtrack in Naoto's dungeon to get a key, in that time it takes me to backtrack, I have to fight a few enemies, and in those combat encounters there's a random chance of what enemy it is. Then I have to consider the question of how the floor layout will change, so I'll have to find a new way back to the floor where the key is, and while doing that I could find chests and golden hands. See how the more combat focused puzzle is more interesting no matter the number of times you do it compared to the cipher in Konoshiro's palace or the rat maze in Shido's? You can disagree, and that's totally fine. This is a personal preference thing at the end of the day. I like replayability because I seek value in the New Game Plus playthrough with maxed out stats. I can do the social links at any pace. I can say the lines that require courage and be a Chad. It's fun. Persona 5, in my opinion, should have some kind of master quest, something that would make the dungeons different for a New Game Plus playthrough, something that would give someone who wants to sink another 100-hour playthrough into your game worth it. I don't know, but that just might be me. In summary, a Persona 4 remake could bring a lot to the table. It could also be a bitch slap from Atlus that ceases me from spending money on their games anymore. I know that a remake of Persona 4 will be decisive since there's so many takeaways you can get from the game. Do you want P4, but just like P5? Then great, I hope you enjoy it. I'm not here to rain on anyone's parade. My personal preferences and enjoyments are something that are mine. They aren't objectively correct opinions. Let me know your opinions down below. If you'd like to support the channel, I recommend you check out my Patreon. For as little as $1 a month, I offer bonus content and my scripts as I write them. For $5, you can join these lovely people on screen right now. Thank you so much for watching. Make sure you like and subscribe. And remember, I'm a Chris Jesse. I read all the comments down below because I have nothing better to do. And brush your teeth, bitch!